Hey everybody, it's Brian Hart Hoffman here, the editor-in-chief of Bake From Scratch. Today, the Fast Fix Baking series continues with delicious and unique recipes that meet the criteria to be quick and easy. Black Cocoa Cheesecake Brownies take center stage in the kitchen today, so think about this. Fudgy brownies swirled with a luscious layer of cheesecake filling. Stop me when that doesn't sound good. This recipe and others can be found in my brand new cookbook, Fast Fix Baking. Easy and delicious, I think that's a good thing. Let's get started. While this recipe is very simple, we have two recipes to make before we assemble. So let's start with our black cocoa brownie batter. Now over here in the top of a simmering pot of water, I have a glass bowl that's heat proof. That's something you really need to know when you are working with melted chocolate and butter, but the bowl also needs to be heat proof. I have melted dark chocolate chips and unsalted butter, and I've let it cool just a little bit. Now I'm gonna get my sugars in. So I am adding brown sugar and granulated sugar, and we're gonna whisk these in and let the sugar start to combine with this chocolate mixture. And I start by pressing my whisk in, and then I can start to get this nice and combined. Now before we add any other ingredients, we're gonna get our dry ingredients combined. We do want this mixture to cool down enough so that when we add the eggs, we don't have any scrambled eggs or anything like that. So we're gonna let it cool enough before the eggs go in. So once you have your sugars completely combined, we can shift our attention to the dry ingredients. Now I have all-purpose flour here. To this, I'm adding black cocoa powder. You could also use just a Dutch processed cocoa powder here, but the black cocoa has such an amazing flavor, I hope you will use it. It's what you know from eating Oreos. There's your flavor connection. Then I'm adding kosher salt as well because everything needs a little salt. It just enhances the flavor. So be gentle in your whisking. You don't want the cocoa powder flying out of the bowl. But this is a great opportunity to get all of your ingredients combined, but also to break up any clumps that might be in the cocoa powder. That is something very common with that ingredient. But once everything is combined, we can start getting everything else in our mixture here with the chocolate. So let's get our eggs in. And let's also go ahead and get our vanilla extract in. And when I'm combining ingredients here, you'll see the way I whisk is to be very careful without splashing anything out of the bowl. So the eggs and the vanilla sitting on top of this melted chocolate and sugar mixture, I don't want them to splash out. So I start my whisking in the center of the bowl, small, very tight circles until I see everything starting to combine. And you can start to see it showing up here in the center, just where I'm whisking. And then eventually I'll be able to make larger whisking motions while keeping everything in the bowl. And you wanna do this until everything is nice and smooth. Be sure to scrape through the sides of the bowl as well, just to make sure we don't have any ingredients hanging out over there that aren't getting mixed in. It's gonna get nice and smooth and shiny. Looking good. Now we will fold our flour mixture in. So you can take your whisk and set it to the side. And then you can add your dry ingredients. For your folding, grab a spatula. And I start at 12 o'clock and move to 6 o'clock and quarter turn the bowl. This helps to keep all of the ingredients in. It gets all of our mixture combined without overworking the flour so that we have a really nice, fudgy, tender brownie. Be sure to scrape around the sides of the bowl and through the bottom, and make sure you're folding and combining until all of the flour and dry ingredients are incorporated. Then we'll stop and set this to the side so we can make our cheesecake filling. Simple to make the cheesecake filling. I'm starting with the cream cheese in the bowl that I'm gonna use on my stand mixer. But the first thing I wanna do is just get my softened cream cheese nice and smooth. So I'm turning the stand mixer on a medium to medium-low speed, just until I see that it's smooth and creamy. And that comes together in seconds. Then I am going to add granulated sugar and all-purpose flour to this mixture. And then we wanna make sure that we leave the stand mixer combining this until it's completely combined. And we'll stop and scrape down the sides and bottom of the bowl too, but at first I just wanna get those ingredients combining with the cream cheese. and then I can scrape down the paddle and the sides and bottom of the bowl. Whenever you're getting a base mixture like this started with cream cheese, it's so important to get everything incorporated together as you add the ingredients. And you want your cream cheese to be the right consistency and be nice and smooth so we don't have any clumps in our swirled brownies. Perfect. Now with the stand mixer on a low speed, I'm gonna add room temperature eggs, one at a time. When we add eggs, you wanna make sure that they fully combine with your ingredients before adding the next. So just pick up the speed a little bit on the stand mixer and get everything brought together. Then goes the second. Last ingredient, then we're done, vanilla extract. Once everything is perfectly combined and smooth, you're ready for assembly. Let's assemble our brownies. I have a 13x9 baking pan that I have sprayed with a baking spray. I have put parchment in, and I'm just pinching the sides of the parchment here to make sure that it stays out of the way for a perfect assembly. Now, here is our brownie batter, and we will be putting 2/3 of this into the bottom of the pan before we bring in our cheesecake filling that we made. Let's get the first 2/3 in. And then we're just gonna spread this into a nice even layer. Going right-handed now, doing it rogue. It's like flying blind. I don't use this hand for baking. Wouldn't you love to do a poll too, to be like, where are my lefties at? I know you're out there baking with me. After your brownie batter is in, let's get all of our cream cheese filling. And this is gonna bake in such a beautiful layer, and you'll really be able to see, obviously, that distinct difference between the brownie and then your cheesecake layer. Then we're gonna come back and do a nice swirl on the top just for all that drama. You know you need it. This recipe loves it. And our last step is to take your remaining brownie batter and dollop it over your cheesecake filling. You can do this in any way you want. We're gonna come back with a wooden pick and swirl it. So have fun with it. This is where you get to make art with your food. Once you have your brownie batter dolloped over the cream cheese and brownie base, it's time to do the little swirl garnish that's gonna give the wow factor to this recipe. Now the brownie batter is rather thick, probably thicker than you might have seen with other brownie recipes, but the density of it works perfectly for that cheesecake filling on top. So using a wooden pick, start swirling your cream cheese and brownie batter together. And I just take the pick and go through the brownies and the cream cheese, getting a nice marbling and swirling. You'll see nice texture here as well. If you swirl too much, and you know, go with your heart here. I want you to be creative. But if you swirl too much, you can almost combine the two so much that it starts to lose the nice marbling and distinct pattern that you're putting in it. So you've got to have a little bit of control in the swirling, but have fun with it anyway. All right, this looks good to me. Let's go to the oven and bake it. 350 degrees is the oven temperature, and baking time is about 50 to 55 minutes in total, but you'll find the full instructions for baking in the recipe. Off to the oven we go. After baking, you let these completely cool in the pan, and then those parchment sides that were hanging over the pan, you use that as a way of lifting it out of the pan for an easy transfer to the board. Then you can cut into squares as big or as small as you would like. Now you can store this in an airtight container for up to 3 days, but these are so good, I do not think there's a chance that they're gonna last 3 days, but anyway, you can if you want to. Thank you for watching today. I hope you're making plans to bake these. You'll find the recipe in the description of today's episode, along with more information about how you can be a part of the baking community here at Bake From Scratch. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel so that we have all these delicious moments together. And it's time for you to preheat your ovens. It's time to bake. And now it's time for me to have a brownie. See you next time.